What's up, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Dag Life Podcast here at the DNAG Group in San Diego, where we talk about everything real estate related and beyond. Today's guest that's going to be joining me today is a very good friend of mine on the team, one of our ballers, one of our all-stars, Mr. DJ Salazar.
Well, thanks for that introduction, Lewis. I've been with the team for about 2 years. I would honestly say it's the best move I've made for my career.
Okay, love that. So we'll definitely elaborate on that in a second. I'm super excited to have you on the show. I know we had to reschedule a couple times, but obviously we're here, the day's here, and we're going to have a little bit of fun. Obviously going to get your take on a lot of different things, but first and foremost, tell us a little bit about DJ and how we got into real estate.
Sure. I actually grew up in a real estate family.
Okay.
So my dad was a realtor and investor.
Mm-hmm.
So I was exposed to the business well before technology was even in place for the business. So I had to run signs, run paperwork to escrow at a very young age. And then when I went into college, I went into the mortgage business.
Okay.
Right after, and I realized that, in working with realtors, as much as I love the industry, I felt like there was a better way of doing things and servicing clients.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to 2017 is when I went to real estate full time, and I've been here since.
Love that. So it was kind of in the bloodline.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, so did you know the entire time that like some kind of real estate version of real estate industry is going to be your future?
Yeah, it's some form of it.
Right.
I just didn't know exactly where. I obviously had to find myself from college, and then my career from that point. But real estate was I felt like I found my home.
Kind of the calling.
Yeah.
Love that. And it's important to know that because not a lot of people find that at a younger age. And it takes a lot of people, like myself, some time to get there. But for me, right, I think the cool thing was I had my opportunity to kind of dabble in a whole bunch of different industries.
Right.
Had a lot of fun in each industry, learned a lot in each industry, and now where I am, and I've been able to take all the skills I've learned from other areas of industries to kind of compartmentalize into real estate, which has helped me, I think, at this point in my career. In terms of your transition, right, from being a part of a family in real estate to the mortgage industry, what would you say was the hardest transition going from the mortgage side into the actual salesperson side, which hate fucking calling realtors salespeople because we're relationship builders
Sure.
and problem solvers, but what was the most difficult or, sporadic challenge that you had to face?
Sure. I think for me personally, it was transitioning from running numbers, being kind of in the mortgage world, to focusing more on people.
Mm-hmm.
To be quite honest, sometimes the loan process could be the more stressful part of the home buying journey for most people. Making sense of the numbers, making sure, can I even afford this home? Those are the kind of things I had to sort of take a step back and say, this isn't my job anymore. Real estate is a fun part, as I say. Finding the home, kind of living the dream of what you were hoping to get for you or for your family, and let those loan officers deal with the stress. Let them deal with the stress of the numbers.
Let them take care of all the headache stuff.
Yeah.
Love that for you. In terms of your journey now in real estate for full time for about 7 years, what would you say has been the most important lesson that you've learned to this point?
Most important lesson, I know it's very cliche, but I would say mindset is really important, and not only shaking off I guess the stress of the business, so much as being able to appreciate and accept everything that comes your way.
Mm-hmm.
With success comes a lot of hurdles to jump through before you even get there, and when you do have success, understand that it's not always a flat line.
Right.
That this business has been a roller coaster, but it helped me grow as a person, and also helped me grow also as a human being and a father. Learning how to overcome challenges,
Right.
Is what we deal with on a daily basis.
And I think that's important to kind of outline, right? Because a lot of time, right, especially from the outside looking in, it's realtors are commission chasers. They just
Right.
chasing money because they're getting all this money when most of the time, and 90% of people
Right.
don't know how much we actually make compared to the numbers that they see, like on TV and shit like that. The ebbs and flows of real estate in any industry as a whole is really what's going to help you kind of make it a fulfilling process, right? Because we do learn as a person, we grow as a person, whether it's the homework, the home life work balance, that whole shebang, or whether it's the industry, whether it's being a parent, husband, whatever that looks like. I think at the core of it, in an industry like this that's always changing and all these changes are getting into place, you have to be adaptable. And part of being adaptable means you have to be able to take the good with the bad and the bad with the good, and you have to be able to take the ebbs and flows as it comes.
Yeah.
So, since you brought up being a father, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, real estate is you work when you want, but it's really 24/7. How have you been able to balance it now being in real estate for full as a realtor on that side of the fence for 7 years now, full time, balancing being a father and being, obviously present in your children's lives, and then obviously being very proficient in real estate.
Well, it's not easy.
Of course.
It was a learning process through the years. I would even take my kids to showings with me when they were 2 or 3 years
Mhm.
old. Even bribe them. Here's a Cheeto bag, hide in the corner somewhere. But I always made sure. I would ask clients like, is it okay if I bring my kids? I didn't want to just dump it on them
Right.
and be surprised. So I always was very respectful with everybody I worked with. But in order to balance all that, the times that I am with my kids, I've learned to shut everything off, phone included, and give them full undivided attention. I think that's the hardest thing as a realtor is you're always anticipating your phone's gonna ring,
Right.
get a text, those kind of things, and it pulls you away from family. So the kids never get the undivided attention. So just last year, my kid played club soccer for the first time. My oldest son Ethan.
Love that.
I was at every game, every practice, and I learned how to balance. Not being available all the time,
Mm-hmm.
but still continuing to run my business in between. Driving. Like I'd make phone calls before
Right.
practice, for example.
And you have to take advantage of the time that you do have. And I think it's important to note you also have to have that personal boundary of
Right.
knowing when your off time is going to be, right? At the end of the day, it's 24/7 full time flexible, but you can still control your life and control your schedule based on what makes the most sense for you as a person, you as a family member, right? So obviously it's definitely a kind of a song and dance when it comes to that fine line of knowing how to navigate that. And sometimes there's fires that need to be put out, and sometimes things are going smoothly, right?
Right.
The cool thing about real estate, which I think is cool because it's always changing your life, is that every day is different.
Yeah.
So it's not monotonous. It's not 9 to 5 in a cubicle. Which to those that do that kind of lifestyle, kudos to you. It couldn't be me, but there's always something different going on. In terms of looking at and realtors coming into the industry.
Right.
Well, what kind of advice would you give them in terms of how to handle when something comes up?
I would say, first of all, breathe. Right. Not everything's a fire in real estate.
Right.
And I'm sure we've learned that over the years. But to really take some time and process what's happening, I feel like the biggest pitfall as a realtor is being very reactive.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as something happens that you weren't really planning for, you get on the phone right away, try to fix it. Sometimes things can't be fixed.
Right.
Sometimes you need to take a step back, let your creative juices kind of flow, and figure out what to do next.
Right. And I think that's important that we tell our clients all the time too, right? Especially first time buyers is our responsibility and our job as an advisor, as the expert, as like the guide through the process is you don't have to react so much as you need to respond, because the difference is it can be the result of losing a transaction compared to getting the home that you want. And I think part of that comes with identifying that when something does come up, there's always either a way around it or a way through it. And if there's neither of those, there's a way out. So obviously, with the journey that you've had so far, and obviously getting to where you are right now, you mentioned earlier that you found Dag a couple years ago, right? Something that we obviously got to highlight as part of the Dag Life podcast is, one thing we talk about often is, and I'm very biased. I say that all the
Right.
time. I say it on almost every episode, but that's because I've been here since I got into real estate, and I've never needed to even consider leaving, just because of what it's provided for me, the opportunities I have, how much I've grown as a realtor and as a person, as a leader, both personal development and business development. In terms of yourself, before you came to DAG, right? You were at a couple other places over the last several years, which is normal.
Mhm.
What was it when you met with DAG, whether it was Dean, Afro, Gail, or whoever else a part of the team, where you were like, "This is home. This is where I need to be"?
Well, Gil had me at hello. I mean,
So cute.
we interviewed, we hit it off, and I was like, just Gil was my first impression and the first face of DAG that kind of set the tone for everything else, right?
Right.
I feel like having a leadership or management team that embodies the sort of character of an agent, and all those things that kind of come with it. I knew right away. In fact, close friend of mine, John, was already on the team, so that definitely helped. And I think the most important part for me was, in real estate, we're always trained to be very confident, these kind of things, but understanding that we could also be vulnerable in this team,
Right.
uh, open up to what our challenges are and what we're going through. I felt like there was no judgment. You come in here, if you're going through, something stressful, people on the team are very accepting of it. Somebody's been through it.
Even in your personal life.
Yeah.
It's not just real estate. And I think that's something that's, again, why I always felt like home. I've had plenty of personal battles and life challenges where the people that I went to right away when I went through certain things in my life for the last 3 years were Dean and Aphrodite. And it's because of how it made me feel about being a part of the family and the culture, to where like I look up to them as big brother, big sister when I need something not just business real estate related, but also personal life related. And I think one thing you pointed out that's super important to kind of notate is the vulnerability and authenticity side of how you can be while you're on the team, instead of just being buttoned up, come in suited and booted, do your work, do your calls, call your leads, do your escrows, and then just get out of here, which is not who we are.
Right.
So obviously it's something that, we stress the importance of, obviously, with being here as a part of the team. Um, Kind of looking back at where you started, coming from a real estate related family, getting on the mortgage side, and kind of being now where you are as a realtor, father, working through the nitty gritty of the grind, a lot of industry changes. If you could look back at 18-year-old DJ,
Oof. Okay.
he's sitting right in front of you right now, and you have 5 seconds to tell him the best piece of life advice you could ever give him, what would it be?
That nothing's permanent.
Okay.
Whether it's stress, even the good times, like all these moments are very fleeting. So you appreciate what you have and you appreciate what comes to you.
I love that. I just got chills. That was so good. I mean, it might be the air conditioning, but that was really good because it's so subtle yet so true.
Yeah.
And so powerful. And I think, and I had this challenge throughout my life, and a lot of it stems from a childhood where I didn't have a lot of control over a lot of things that happened to me, good or bad. And I told myself that when I was an adult, I would control absolutely fucking everything, and that shot me in the foot because I found out real fucking quick, and life humbled me in many ways to say you can't control shit, bro.
Yep.
And I think that's a very fine line and a tough lesson for a lot of people to learn. Typically the hard way, but that's the way something like that needs to be taught. And I've been so focused the last couple of years on just controlling things I can, instead of trying to control almost everything, which is not possible. Right? There's a lot of things that we don't have control over. But obviously the important things we can control is what's going to kind of help us progress through life.
Okay.
What's some advice that you share with your children on a weekly, monthly, annual basis? What's that look like?
In terms of my kids, I talk about how it's important to treat others well. I, especially growing up as a teenage boy, for example, we always joke around, talk ish to each other. Those things are going to happen.
Right.
I mean,
Of course.
it's just part of growing up. But at the core of your, who you are, you're still genuine. You're still caring. You do your best to make sure that the people around you, all the loved ones, that you're looking out for them.
I love that, dude. It's important to know. You just have to be a good person.
Yeah.
And it's really not that difficult to be a good person, especially in the world that we live in today. It's honestly just leading with good, honest, and true intentions.
Right.
And as long as you lead that way through life, like everything's going to eventually work out in your favor. Maybe not all the time, but eventually it will, because karma's a real thing, and that energy comes back around to people that are just good to other people.
Yeah.
Right. So with where you're at now, with everything you have going on at home, and kind of the direction that you're headed this year, right? A lot of industry changes. What is something, whether it's personal or career related, that you're super excited about for the rest of the year?
You know what? I've had a lot of success in the first half of the year, so being able to spend more time with family and actually having better control of my schedule towards the end of the year. When I first started, I met a couple really heavy hitters in real estate, and they mentioned the possibility of grinding it out for 6, 8, 10 months, and then taking 2 months towards the end of the year and just travel.
And that's how it's looking for you so far?
Yeah.
I love that, dude. You have been killing this year, so obviously super excited to kind of see where that goes. We talk a lot about, especially here, right, Dag Life, we talk a lot about legacy. Right. We talk about the impact we want to leave on the people that we leave behind. We talk about what we want to be remembered for. And we talk about down the road, when all is said and done, we want to make sure more is done than said. So for DJ, looking ahead, 30, 40, 50 years down the road, When all is said and done, what does DJ want to be remembered for? What would you like your legacy to be?
In terms of my legacy, it's very simple. Like I just want people to know that I cared. I was here to help.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's really it for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of big picture things that I hope for in life.
Right.
I may not get all of them,
And that's
but
okay.
yeah. Just to know that I was there. When somebody needed my help, I was there for them. Rather than, hey, let's keep in touch, maybe kind of, but to actually be there for the people that I really care about.
It's important. I think it's overstated and undervalued for sure. I think in terms of like life, right? Life is short, and there's like myself, right? There's people in my life that I haven't had contact with for a long time. Some of them are by choice, no hard feelings, no ill will. There's some people where, in terms of, Tyler Perry has a very great quote that I've listened to a million times. It's certain people are only meant to live with you throughout your life to a certain point, and they're kind of like the boosters of a rocket ship. Once you get to a certain level, they fall off, and that's okay. They're not meant to travel the rest of the way with you, but there are still those people where I know personally I could do a better job at keeping in touch with because life is short. There are oftentimes the last couple of years where I've thought about if something does happen to so and so or even myself, like how would I feel about not speaking to this person ever again? And it's made me keep in touch with people a lot more recently. And another thing to look at too, and when it comes to kind of like your own personal boundaries and your own personal mental and emotional health, is something that's important to me is if you notice that you're always the first person to reach out to someone to check in on them, give it 60 to 90 days without being the first person to reach out, and you'll never speak to them ever again.
Yeah.
And I think that coincides hand in hand because we can only do so much in terms of keeping in touch with certain people,
Right.
but knowing that you're always going to be there for someone, that's a fulfilling component to know that you're doing your part in trying to be a good person.
Yeah.
So, love that about you.
Yeah,
Appreciate
and it just kind of going back, Lewis, to having those conversations or communication with people if for whatever reason the conversation falls off, there's no hard feelings. It's just, hey, life happens.
Right.
But we took at least 5 to 10 minutes to catch up and see how things are going.
No, I agree, dude. Done that recently with some friends from college, so I think it's cool to kind of touch base with people that you had a good idea where you would never speak to them ever again.
Right.
Not over anything bad. It's just sometimes it's friendships with drift, and that's
Right.
relationships, friendships, even family. Right? It just happens. In terms of like your legacy down the road and kind of looking ahead, is there anything that's kind of like a major dream or goal that's out there that you really want to accomplish more than like most things?
I'd say the main thing for me is being in a position in life where I don't have to work for money.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is if there was enough passive income built around where I could sustain my lifestyle and not have to worry when the next paycheck's coming.
Right.
I think that's kind of the ultimate dream.
Yeah, and I agree, dude. I think it coincides with freedom of time. That's the biggest, most efficient currency you could ever have because
Right.
we don't get any time back. It's a one thing we'll never get back in life is time. So when you try to build a life of freedom of time where you can live the life you want to enjoy without having to worry about how am I going to pay rent or how am I going to pay my mortgage. So I think that's something that's again where a lot of people don't look at too far down in the future down the road. A lot of people live for the right now. So I'm glad we're on the same page of obviously the goal that's in mind. Well, listen, dude, I appreciate you for joining me today. I'm excited to finally have you on, obviously, Dag Life Podcast, and there's a lot more to come. Super excited to see where we take the series and excited to get you on the show again soon.
All right.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, my man. Thank you guys for checking out another episode of Dag Life Podcast. See you next time.